Hey everybody, welcome to Brothers and Booze. We're here. I'm really excited for this tonight because we're having a Cicerone, if I'm probably mispronouncing that again. But we have Rita here with us, and we got Greg, of course, who's going to keep me in check. Not at all.
You just want to keep you in check, man.
Yeah, you know how that works, right? So what we normally do is we are going to delve right in as we normally do. I will start. And I'm going to start light and go heavy, which, usually I have almost all heavy beers, but tonight I'm starting with something a little lighter. This is a brewery out of, I believe, Syracuse, New York. It is Warhorse. I've had a couple of things to make an excellent Scotch ale. This is a Oktoberfest and it is Rolling Storm. So this one, if you forgive me, it's, I think it says it's not quite 5.9%. Let's pop that guy open. And it's a big 16-ounce thing. So,
well, what is this one called again?
It is called Rolling Storm Oktoberfest.
Oh, yes. It's an Oktoberfest.
It's
that time of year.
Well, 'tis the season, so it's an appropriate.
Absolutely.
This is 5.5% ABV. The Royal Kilt Inspector that you have on the site there, that thing is fantastic. So it's got all the earmarks of the classic Oktoberfest.
What did you grab? The 4-pack of cans here?
I actually, yeah, I did. So that was actually exactly what I paid for it. So
not bad for 4-pack.
Man, that's really. It's perfect Oktoberfest. Like, just if you want something that's very straightforward, this is your Oktoberfest. This is it. There's nothing overly complicated about it, but that's what I like about it. It's, really just kind of, here you go kind of thing.
Well, that's an Oktoberfest.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of fanfare. You're not going to see a lot of crazy stuff with Oktoberfest. At least I haven't. I mean, Rita, have you seen anything kind of weird with Oktoberfest? Or are they always kind of straightforward?
No, I think in order to be called an Oktoberfest and not have people throw things at your brewery, you have to have very malty, clear character, not super hoppy, that kind of goldeny caramel fall color. I mean, it's the perfect fall beer because whether the weather's super hot out or super cold out, it's refreshing. It's not too much. You can drink a huge liter of it, which you're supposed to do for Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect beer.
Yeah, and it's all those earmarks you talked about. I don't really get a lot of hops out of that at all, but it's super refreshing. It's very, very drinkable. So
this is one of those styles of Oktoberfest, in my opinion, that is like, it reminds me of like a McDonald's cheeseburger. Everybody knows how it's going to taste going in, and everybody knows what they want it to taste like, and it better taste like that, or there's going to be problems. Like, Oktoberfest is that one that's like, again, generally speaking, it all tastes. It's not like IPA where it's even Saison where the flavors are just so can be vastly different, and it can still fit in that style. Oktoberfest is just so like, it's like this. That's how I feel about it. And you either got a good one or you don't.
I don't think it's a style that gives you a lot of leeway to customize, because then it's not an Oktoberfest. You got to have those Munich malts. Like, that's got to be the whole point, because Oktoberfest is Munich, and that beer is the stamp for Munich all over the world. Like, that's what people know the most when it comes to German beers, Oktoberfest, that kind of thing.
So here's my big first question for the Cicerone. Ready? Everybody ready? So we're not going to see any Oktoberfest with cocoa nibs.
No, you shouldn't. I'm going to disappoint someone, but you're not going to have your pastry Oktoberfest. You can have your pastry and your Oktoberfest beer. It goes great with food, but you're not going to put the pastry in the Oktoberfest beer.
Absolutely. So we almost went 5 minutes without you cracking a beer, certified Cicerone. So let's.
All right.
Were you going to say that?
I was going to say the interesting thing about this is they have a pairing, but they have an album pairing, not just for food. So their album pairing is The Notwist Neon Golden. I have heard of neither the album nor the band, so whatever that is.
I love that idea. I think pairing beer with other things is amazing, and someone that Greg and I know from some of the beer conference stuff is specializes in pairing beer with experiences and music and movies. So I feel like I need to send him a message and be like, hey, there's this brewery doing this thing that you love.
Yeah, Zach Rosen, right?
Yeah, Zach Rosen.
Yeah, Zach Rosen and I are working on a shirt that says something about beer pairing with everything. We're working on it. We're gonna have it out hopefully by next beer now.
Awesome.
Rita, what you drinking?
I have Alter Centerline. It's a golden ale, blonde ale. I'm starting with this because not only is it kind of your basic, like when you talk to some of the older generations and they're, well, I want my beer to taste like beer. This is what you would give them if you're out at a brewery, because it has that sort of basic beer taste, but this is a favorite in my family. My brother, who isn't really into like knowing a lot about beer, describes this as his perfect beer because he can have exactly 6 of it and he doesn't feel too drunk. He enjoys the flavor all the way through, never gets burnt out. You know, it's good with any time of year, any kind of activity. So Session Golden Ale from Alter in Downers Grove, Illinois.
Nice.
In a fancy Cicerone glass.
Right.
So with that, what are you like? All right, so I am not someone who drinks a lot of golden ales.
Okay.
So what are you getting out of that makes it hit all the right notes?
It has a little bit of like that minerality, that carbonation. You definitely feel it. You think of like when you're drinking like a seltzer, you get that little like zip on your tongue and that kind of minerally taste. You get that, which is present in a lot of like Pilsners, Kolsch's, that type of style. But since it's using ale yeast, you get some of those more fruity esters. So there's no fruit in the beer, but you have a little bit of that grassy hop note. You get some of that like apple peel aroma, but not the bad apple peel. There's that, you know, the good kind and the bad kind. This is the good kind. This is the esters, and you wouldn't really know about it if you weren't looking for it or thinking about it. But if you put this next to a classic Pilsner, you'd be like, oh, wow, like there's definitely something different about this.
Okay. Thank you. Because like sometimes like Greg and I, we like beer and we had a lot of beer and we are able to talk about a lot of different stuff. But golden ale is not one that I see a lot, actually. I don't see a whole lot of golden ales, but it might also be that I'm not really looking for it.
It's
How about you, Greg?
also called blonde ales. A lot. Some people have cream ales, which don't have any cream in them, but will label them as such. It's not a well-defined popular style, you know, label-wise, but so many breweries make them because they're kind of that crowd pleaser, crowd favorite, that if someone asks for a Budweiser or a Miller Lite and you don't have that, it will fill in enough for them to still be happy and maybe change their perception of beer and get them into craft beer.
Let me use 2 terms: gateway beer and lawnmower beer, and maybe shower beer.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is all of these things, but not a golden shower beer. Let's not go there.
Whoa, that took a turn.
Whoa, wow.
It
was funny too. Didn't we give her the warning? Didn't we give her the warning, Doc?
Hey, I said mine.
The warning was
that.
Everything goes right. So on that note, you did mention golden. You did mention pills.
Yes.
This is what I have now. I'm serving here. You can't. I don't. Can you see me when I do that?
Yeah, I can. Well, I can see it, but.
Oh, okay. I don't know if everybody can see me while I have this Praga up here. This is what I'm drinking now. I got this in one of those craft beer boxes that you buy. I will leave the company out. Actually, I tagged them, didn't I? I shouldn't have. They should pay us if we're going to tag them. But that's another story for another time. No, Praga Premium Pills here. Let me stop sharing this, and then everybody can see what I have here. So I have it's in a can. So it's sweaty too. It's been here for a while. Czechoslovakian pills. So right from the source. You can see here, it's really crisp. Oh, well, you can't see that it's crisp. You can see that it's clear though. I can tell you, I had a couple sips. It's very crisp, like they claim it is here in the ad. Um, Taking a sip here. Oh, I get the toasted pretzel bread. Um, Again, very crisp. I don't know. I don't know if I get notes of nuts here, or I don't know, butter, herb, pepper, baguette.
Yeah, that's very specific.
Yeah,
Specific description.
yeah. Very well made and thoroughly refreshing. This is very true. Crisp and light and hoppy. Yeah, the hops are really present here. I like to say that the hops, especially in pills, gives it that snap at the end, that crisp. In a pills and in a kolsch, I want a crisp ending. I know it's light and everything, but I want like a little bit of a get at the end. Not as much as like the end. You take a sip of Coke and you get that like bite.
Yeah,
it's a little bite, little bite. I'm a fan of this one. I like it.
so that's but that was listed as like it said like Golden Amber, but it was like Pilsner also as well as what it was listed as, I believe, right?
Yeah, they're calling it a premium pills here.
Okay.
Golden Amber color. Yep. So Praga, I've heard of them. I've never had their beer. I got a couple more, so this is going to be a good one for sure. This is what I would look for again. Doug, what do you got now, sir?
Okay, so I decided to dip into my cellar stash because I haven't done that in a while. And my stash is actually growing a bit too much, so it's probably a good idea if I weed it down a little bit. So what I decided to bring up was a pastry stout from Dewclaw. This is Blueberry Maple Imperial Stout. I put this down May of last year.
Blueberry Maple.
Blueberry Maple. So it was canned in May of last year. So I put it down when it was fresh. So I have never aged a pastry stout. Rita said that it might be okay. We're going to find out. Holy blueberries coming out of that. Whew.
The patriarchy blueberry maple thing. Yeah, let's see.
Look at that thing bubbling. Ooh, baby.
Okay. Ooh. Huh.
Oh, my goodness. There's a freaking head on that thing. Jesus.
Wow. Yeah, maple.
Oh, Russian Imperial Stout there. This is listed as 8.5, but let's see how much that. I don't know. Rita, have you ever seen like the difference in if you cellar something in a bottle versus a can? Is there a difference?
There can be. Sometimes bottles will leave a little extra of the room for some of that like fermentation and sugar breakdown, but I haven't had any bad experiences cellaring in cans, but as long as the beer has a good, like the higher ABV, you keep it in a good temperature controlled space. Like you shouldn't be cellaring your beers in the garage where the temperature is going to fluctuate throughout the year. If it's pretty stable, you shouldn't have a problem.
Yeah. So I remember having this fresh, and I bought a 4-pack, and they're desserty beer. So it's not like something you drink a lot of just simply by the nature of it. And so I remember the maple being way more present when it was fresh, and now it's more muted. It's the blueberry just really just knocks you over, both in the aroma and in the taste.
Oh,
so
are we at Lizard of Cos area there?
No, it's not bad. I want you to understand, it's not. You still get that nice Russian Imperial Stout flavor, but it's like blueberries just kind of, hey, I'm going to be here the entire sip you take. It doesn't go away. So it's not like a layered flavor. It just goes right throughout the whole thing. But it's a lot better. I was anticipating it being something like, I have not had great luck cellaring stuff that has fruit in it. This is probably the best one that I've had. So I'll definitely be drinking this, but that's a 16 ounce as well.
Do you like it more than the original, or do you like the cellared version better?
No, I like this version better. because it almost felt like when it was fresh, like the maple and the blueberry were like fighting each other. That makes sense. Like it wasn't like, sometimes you'll have beers and they'll have, all right, I have a layer of blueberry, I have a layer of maple, and then you get to the stout. This was just like they were having a battle royale for your taste buds, and it wasn't really good fresh. Let me rephrase. It was decent fresh. It wasn't something I would drink a lot of, but aged, I prefer this to the fresh.
It's a good endorsement for aging beers.
Yeah, that's quite good.
All right, so you're recommending waiting a year for this one.
Yeah, now they make some other. The Patriarchy is a line of their beers, I believe. I think they have different ones they make, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Okay. But I thought I saw a couple different variants of the Patriarchy beers. So, yeah.
Oh, it's a hiatus.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna be a pain. But anyway, this is really, really much better than I anticipated. I was really anticipating it being just like, here's all your blueberry and no stout, but no, this is definitely a good mix. Just the maple is like just kind of a background note to it.
Well, Nate, Rita, what you got next?
All right, I'm going to stick with the blueberry theme.
Oh,
I have
we got a theme tonight.
I have a sour saison with blueberry. It's part of a farmhouse series from a brewery called Weiner in Chicago. I'm lucky enough to be friends with one of the new brewers there, so I recently got to tour their facility. They're doing a lot of Belgian style and Belgian influenced beers, which I think is great because I think people either get into craft beer through IPAs or Belgian styles, and it's always nice to have a local Belgian style brewery because how many of us are going to get to Belgium in the near future? It's a little bit tart, but it's not sour. And it's not in your face blueberry. I mean, the color is definitely, you can tell there's fruit in there, but it's very subtle, fresh blueberry, not pie, not that blueberry jammy kind of medicinal flavor. It's just light enough that if you're thinking about it, you're like, oh, it's there, but just a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tartness. They also do this one in watermelon in the summer too.
Watermelon.
Yeah, they talked about it being like not jammy. That's the one that I poured isn't jammy either. It's got, weirdly, it tastes more like fresh blueberries than it does like, you almost expect it to taste like an extract kind of thing where it's tastes a little artificial, but doesn't taste like that. So what's the ABV on the one you're drinking, Rita?
5.6. So not too heavy.
Yeah. Then you said more tart than sour?
Yeah. You get a little bit of that almost like sweet tart candy type tartness up front, but you don't get that lingering sour. It doesn't stick in the back of your mouth and like make the sides of your mouth hurt like some aggressive sours, which that's not a bad thing, but not everybody likes it.
I love it. Remember our visit to the Vale last year, Rita?
Yes.
I can't, man. So anyway, you know what? You know what, dog? I was just thinking about this today, and it rings true. No one could ever, anybody who watches our show, the two people that watch it, they could never, ever accuse us of being overly hoppy or always having IPAs on, because I can't remember the last IPA we had on. That was actually a good one, if you remember. We haven't had IPAs on. We had one that didn't have hops. So I'm pretty excited about this, and it's not even an IPA, Citra Pale Ale from Flying Fish. I know nothing about Flying Fish, so tell me something about it, though. You said it's
Flying Fish is out of Watkins Glen, New York, which I live about an hour from there. So I've been to their, now initially their brewery was like, they had a brewery and then they partnered with a restaurant to have their beer on tap at the restaurant. They didn't actually have a tap house. And then they just, the past year or two, started really distributing locally. So they make a chocolate porter that is fantastic.
So yeah, let's see what they have here for this. Citra, all over the place. It says Warrior and Palisade Citra and El Dorado. I'm getting Citra. Nice fruity grapefruit for sure. Maybe even a little. I kind of get mango and guava mixed up, especially what I'm smelling. I kind of get those two. They're fruity and all that. But I kind of get those two mixed up. But in beer, I smell them. I feel I smell them a lot. Let's try this one. Oh, this is nice. There's enough hops in here that you can feel that it's a kind of hoppy beer, but it's not aggressive. This is definitely a summer afternoon hanging out. At 5.2, it drinks like a session. It drinks light. Doug, this could be a shower beer. I don't do the shower beer, so I don't know. But this could be one. Because it has a little bit of bite to it. Don't you shower beers? Don't you want sometimes a little bit of bite to it?
Well, for me, shower beers are whatever the hell I feel like I want to drink in the shower. But,
so there's no style. There's no style to it.
Well, it depends. If I'm taking a shower and it's summer, I'm gonna go for lighter fare. There's sometimes where I feel like I want to have a stout or weirdly, I think like the Oktoberfest lends itself really well for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because I tend to take showers like I'm trying to boil lobsters. I want to like just take all my skin off because I want it super hot, and so like having something that can pair well with that kind of heat is what I would prefer. But sometimes I don't always go that route. Just depends.
So Rita, do you do the shower beers? Are you familiar with this, or where are you at with all
shower beers? I do the bathtub beers. You know how some people might be sitting in the bathtub with a glass of wine. Like, no, I'm going for a heavy hitting stout or something that I've been aging a while.
Okay, so now we got a new thing here. I got a deep dive on this. So we have bath beers now. We also have shower beers. So is there a different style for either one? You said bath beers. You want a big stout, big beer. So what do you want for showers?
I want something kind of quick to drink, not in a glass bottle. Something that will hold up with the heat pretty well, because heat and humidity don't always pair well with something super heavy and sticky and sweet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would agree. And there are times when I take baths because I'm old and my back hurts, and I'll take Epsom salt baths. But like, I agree, Rita, I want something. If I'm going to sit there, I want a nice heavy beer to go with.
You want something you can sip on and make it last, because who takes a bath for like 20 minutes? You make an experience out of it.
Yeah. Or I will do scotch or bourbon at that point, because that's a whole different thing.
And now it's time for our sponsor.
That would be you, Rita.
All right. So this is the part where I talk a little bit about myself, right?
Yes. Basically, that's the segue, but yeah.
Okay.
I made it sound nicer.
Well, if you're in the Richmond, Virginia area, tomorrow, Capsule magazine releases, and Ya Girl wrote a little bit of an article about health and beer. And, going to the brewery doesn't always mean that you're making unhealthy choices, or if you're trying to make healthy choices, you can't go to the brewery. So I try to balance my life, and I try to drink a lot of beer. So some tips and tricks for having a good experience with that. Trying to get into more beer writing and those communities.
I think one thing we talked about, we met at Beer Now, the Beer Blogger Conference.
Yes.
One of the things I'm pretty sure I was talking to you about is that beer and yoga. Was that you?
Probably. I'm a fan of it, so I talk about it with a lot of people.
Okay. Have you done it?
Yes. Multiple different breweries, multiple different styles of yoga.
Yeah, so that's part of your that's part of, I wouldn't say your, but that's part of well, maybe your track and beer. You do a track of, beer and fitness and stuff like that, right? And health and
I mean, you wouldn't tell. I do a lot of beer Instagram, but I'm not one of those like kind of Instagram accounts. I mostly am just posting my beer and my travels and my experiences, but I try to stay healthy. It's hard getting older, drinking a lot of beer, stressful work, stressful life, but I really enjoy things like beer yoga because I can bring my friends that aren't so into beer, with me to the brewery on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, show them places that are important to me. We get our fitness in, we hang out, have a couple beers afterwards. It's usually pretty tame. You're not doing headstands or anything extreme, which I appreciate because that's not my level of fitness. But there's a brewery in the south suburbs of Chicago that does metal yoga. So you're doing yoga to metal. It's a genre of metal called doom metal, very slow and droning, and it's kind of relaxing, kind of aggressive. It brings in a big crowd of both men and women, which is fun. And I would love to see more places doing not just beer yoga, but different types of workout classes, different types of yoga.
Yeah, I want to see. I'm seeing them here a little bit more in Madison. The beer and whether it be running or biking,
Yes.
and how they have events coming in and coming out of breweries and all that. So we're definitely seeing more of that here in Madison. Doug, where are you at with the whole? Are you seeing beer and yoga over where you're at in New York?
Where I am, no, but I did notice there's a local brewery who did a thing called, and I'm not really keen on the phrasing, but it was like earn your beer. So you would run and then you would stop and have a beer. So they were basically saying, well, if you want to have a beer, you got to go run. Well, not all of us are great at running, so maybe that's the best message. But
our friend, real quick, I'm sorry. Our friend Tiffany Martin mentioned that, if you remember. Remember, she said her and her husband they went out on a hike and earned their beers before they went to
was in San Francisco.
Russian River. It was Russian River.
Yeah, and you know what? To each your own. And I think the idea of like blending yoga and beer, and like the idea of having the metal and beer thing and yoga or whatever it was, I have like more of a blend of women and men, and being able to have more folks in there that's a cool idea, no matter how you slice it, I think.
I'm thinking of a DJ, and you got some hip hop yoga going on.
Come on, that's actually a thing. And the dance classes, there are more breweries that are starting to have either dance fitness or learn how to dance, salsa lessons, hip hop dance. So anything that's bringing in more people to the breweries and a variety of different people, I'm for. There's even a brewery nearby me that has a knitting club where people come and bring their yarn projects and help each other out and build crafts together. And it's a great way to bring in an older population of people too. There's a lot of young people that knit, and they can bring the relatives that taught them how to knit to their community and be like, hey, I'm going to show you my beer because you showed me how to knit or crochet. And I mean, anything that brings more different types of people into a brewery, I'm for.
Well, this is inclusion. And when people say inclusion, sometimes people get scared of inclusion, but inclusion means everyone. It means everyone's included, whether it's the basket weavers, whether it's the metal yoga people, whether it's the hip hop crew, whether it's Doug over there dancing because we got a couple beers in him. I mean, it's all over the place. I mean,
dance, so that's okay.
But I think, Rita, that's the key. It's not just again, we need to work on people of color and more women, but like it's little events like basket weaving and painting. I see painting a lot in breweries.
Yes.
I think again that's
wine,
but not so much beer here. But
it's coming, man. And I don't know, like to me, that's part of inclusion and diversity. Is it's broad. It's not just directed towards women or people of color. It's directed towards everyone. And let's try to get you know what I mean, instead of So, Doug, are you on your third or something?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to, but I was looking at something here, and unfortunately, I just switched my phone because it's the only way I can do this kind of stuff. But there was a question here from Spencer, who said bathtub versus hot tub beer.
Yeah, I was
like, that's a good question. I don't have a hot tub. I'd freaking love to have a hot tub, but I don't.
Well, they're kind of the same thing, though, aren't they?
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna be a party pooper here, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
So bathtubs, the temperature tends to go down after you first get in. Hot tubs maintain a more consistent temperature, and when you're drinking,
really careful.
Your body isn't aware of how you're feeling, if you're sweating too much, and sitting in that liquid is definitely not going to help. There are actually a lot of people that either get sick or die every year from being intoxicated in hot tubs.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of a friend died that way. They had just a little too much and thought it was going to be a good idea to go into the hot tub, passed out. So that you got to be careful with. If you're going to be drinking and doing the hot tub, stick to the lighter ABV, your session beers. You know, you might be able to do more in the bathtub where you've got a little more control over those temperatures, but a hot tub, just be careful, guys. I don't want anyone getting hurt.
Just be careful out there.
Yeah. Drink responsibly. Like, it's so important.
So that was an excellent question, though, because it is a different beast. And that was something like, yeah, I like hot tubs, but like I'm very wary of if I've had drinks, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be out in 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not going to stick around in there, which, you know, for me, I could sit in a hot tub for a half hour with ease, but not if I've had drinks. It's just something you have to be very conscientious of what you're doing. So
I thought they were the same thing, but nope. This is why we have Rita around. For sure. Doug, what's going on?
All right, so this is one I'm really excited about. So just, you know, I'm sucker for labels, and just how goofy this is, I just was like, that I'm getting that. What is that? So it turns out it's from Omnipolo or Polio. They're from the Netherlands. I don't think they have to do the Spanish double L yo thing. So this is a bourbon barrel aged Imperial Stout. It is 11% ABV. These guys, as Rita pointed out in pre-production, have done a lot of unique, strange, wacky stuff with beer. So this is something I've been really anticipating. What were you saying, Rita, beforehand about I think you said like burgers and stuff like that?
Yeah, they've put some weird things in their beer. Some people say they're the first brewery to do the whole like extreme pastry stout thing. Other weird side note, they also had a beer called Yellow Belly that the bottle was dressed in like a KKK type hood. And there was a huge argument over, is this a statement on, you know, the good side or the bad side? What, you know, are they not in touch with things because they're foreign? It was a big beer dispute. I want to say maybe a year or so ago.
Yeah, they said that they had done it in kind of like a protest against white supremacy, I think was what they were saying, but it just came across wrong. The messaging was poor.
It might have worked differently overseas, but here, where it's more of a real problem, like as a part of our history, I don't think that was going to sell well on the shelves, but I also don't know if it was intended for this market.
So as you can see, that is a very nice dark beer. Man, it just smells perfect. Like it's got the boozy bourbon notes with the Imperial Stout are just blended really nice on the nose. So I am going to give this a go now because I haven't really looked at this. That might be the smoothest Imperial Stout I've ever had. Like, it is really smooth on the palate. Like, it doesn't say anything about like a very light coconut flavor, chocolate that's coming out. Like, and I'm not a big fan of coconut, but like the coconut's just like an underlying flavor with the chocolate. So, and it doesn't like the nose is really boozy, but it doesn't taste boozy. That makes any sense. Yeah. And well, I don't mind that in certain beers, but this is just like, the problem with this is because it's high ABV and it is so smooth, it's really, really drinkable that's dangerous. And I will say this was a splurge for me because this was $11 for a 12-ounce bottle.
Wow.
And I normally don't go that high.
Right.
But I was like, that is something I've always wanted to try, something of theirs. The people in the beer store were like ecstatic that they had it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm getting it. So you don't have to tell me on it. I got it in my hand. I'm going to register.
I don't know. I'm ecstatic that you got it.
My God, though. That is something that I think I'm going to have to go back and get one and bring it down to Dad 2.0.
I think you are, right.
Yeah, because Dad 2.0, we're going to do a bottle share. Rita, we do this every time we go, and we have a bunch of people just bring beer. And the fortunate thing for me is it's in Washington, D.C., and I can drive there. I don't have to fly.
Oh, so you can fill your car up with beer from
Oh, yes, and I plan on doing just that. So, yeah.
I'm going to fill my car up and drive there. But go on.
Yeah, that's true. You can drive here, and then I can drive you down. We'll have just fucking shit tons of beer.
That's the plan, man. That's the working plan at this point.
This is expensive, but my God, that's worth it. It's so good.
Well, damn. How are we going to follow that up, Rita?
Sorry.
Well, I'm also going the dark roasty route.
Oh.
I have Pollyanna Fun Size, the toasted marshmallow variety.
That looks like a fun size.
It's a larger size bottle, so I would not call the bottle fun size.
Right.
But this is a very fun beer, and I'm feeling a little cheesy right now because they say for the Cicerone program, like, you're learning about all these very classic styles and the technical style parameters, and here I'm like, I got things with blueberry, and I've got things with it tastes like a candy bar, but they're important too, and I'm equally down to celebrate them.
Yeah, but just because you're trained to know those styles doesn't mean you can't enjoy stuff that's outside the classic style. That's the fun of beer, I think. And you just find these offshoots that make it really freaking interesting.
Right. Right. Who likes to stay between the lines? I always drew out of them when I was a kid. Sorry. It's true though, and so, some of the best beer places that we love are the boundary pushers. I mean, you can go down the list of all the ones who have pushed boundaries and who have said, no, we're not doing those styles. And we're going to do the crazy ones. I mean, Dogfish. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Most of the OGs are, were boundary pushers, in my opinion. And that's how they got to be who they are. Generally.
How's that one tasting?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
This is amazing. This is one of my favorite beers of all time. It smells like a candy bar, like when you first rip into a Snickers, and that just like chocolatey, nutty, like caramel aroma, just toasted sugar everywhere. That's what this smells like. It has a little bit of that stouty coffee taste. You definitely get not just the roasty, malty flavors, but a little bit of that like nutty peanut flavor, because pretty much all the ingredients in a candy bar are in this beer. And they've added some toasted marshmallow for that extra caramelized sugar aroma and taste. So this is dessert beer. This is 100%, split this with your friends with some cupcakes, or if you want to forego the dessert altogether and just drink a beer, this is what you want to grab.
Is it too sweet, or where are we at with the sweetness? Is it assertive, or?
It's not that sweet. It's definitely sweeter than any of the other beers that I've brought here today, but at no point is it a sugar bomb. It's not sticking to your mouth. It has all the flavors of things that are sweet, but it is not itself highly sweet, which I like.
Yeah.
So the toasted marshmallow part, are you getting, when you were mentioning the flavor profile, I didn't hear that in how you mentioned it. Maybe it's something that's more of an underlying current of it, or how's that?
It amplifies any of the like caramelized sugars, because that's all a marshmallow really is.
True.
So it bumps that up a little bit, but it also bumps up the roastiness from the toasted malt, because you think of that like dark, crunchy, crispy outside of a toasted marshmallow. So you've got both of those. It doesn't just stand out on its own. It kind of amplifies these natural flavors that are already in the beer.
So Rita, I'm gonna jump on mine after while you finish that one, but I'm gonna jump off and give you something to talk about, which is have you been to any for everybody, I don't know if everybody know and you're just tuning in. Rita is from the Chicago area, which is one of the best. I haven't done it, but it's one of the best beer meccas in America. Period. It's easily top 10. I've never been there, but I just know from what I know. Have you been to any events recently or any coming up that people should be on? You know, they have their eye on if you're in Chicago or even or anywhere around there.
Well, in October, the weekend of the 26th, so that weekend right before Halloween, there's a mixture of beer and culture coming together in the city. A local woman who is huge in the history world is putting together a Chicago beer museum.
Say her name. We know her.
Liz Garibay. She's amazing.
Yes, Liz.
I mean, she's done awesome things for the beer community in our city. History pub crawls where she's taking you to these historical bars and places that you're learning something and you're having really good drinks and you're supporting these long-standing local businesses. But she's bringing the history community and the beer community together in October to talk about those relationships and build those connections. There's going to be a dinner at Girl and Goat, which is one of the most famous restaurants in the city. Stephanie Izard from Top Chef started that restaurant. So it's a big deal to have dinner there in the cellar with people from the beer world and the history world. And it's open to anyone. So whether you like beer a little bit or you work in beer, you work in history, it's just going to be kind of a cool melting pot.
Yeah, and our friends Afro Beer Chick and Maine Beer Babe are going to be there doing something too, I believe. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that, but that makes me even more excited.
Yeah, they're going to be on some panel.
Okay.
Some discussion. I don't know. I just saw Liz posted it somewhere, and I saw it. Liz is amazing, from what I know. We met her at Beer Now, or at least I did. I don't know about you. I met her at Beer Now.
I met her at some of the history pub crawls right when I turned 21, 22. So
man, think about that, Doug. A history pub crawl. That would be awesome.
That would be freaking fabulous. You know what? And this is going to sound really weird. I would love to have all right, so this is going to sound morbid for a second, but having a Jack the Ripper pub crawl, like you were in London and you got to do a pub crawl, but also went along the lines of the Jack the Ripper stuff. I don't know.
I think that actually might exist.
Be a thing.
That might.
And if it doesn't, someone needs to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, just doing something like the history pub crawl sounds just with how storied Chicago is and just all the gazillion little events that happen in that city. I think that would be. Yeah, I've been to Chicago once, and it was a million years ago, and I was there for one night. And I wish I would have time to explore the city, not in winter, but any other.
Winters aren't so bad.
Are you kidding? You can't even fly into that city.
We're gonna have to put the. So
that's not a diss. That's just how that works. That's like me trying to fly into Minneapolis in the middle of winter sometimes,
It can be rough, but.
Yeah. So Doug, I've been smelling this one. I don't know what to think about it.
The Skull Splitter, man. I've had that one.
Have you had this one, Rita? Have you had this one, Rita?
No.
You know anything about it?
It's familiar. I think I've seen that on the shelves, but I don't.
Don't they classify it as an Orkney ale, if I remember right?
Yeah. What the hell is that?
They want to make it sound really Viking-y, I guess.
Come on, certified Cicerone. I'm not there yet.
I've never heard of an Orkney.
Right. Right.
Like, I'm going to keep this up right now.
Right. Whoa, it's pouring.
That's pouring like a dark lager almost.
Yeah, let's see what the website says here. I have it here somewhere, don't I? Yep. Let's see here. Boom.
Also,
boom.
Rod in our group just posted doing a speakeasy crawl through Chicago.
They have had those before, and I mean it's hard because a lot of the businesses aren't aren't bars or old breweries anymore. So like, oh, this condo building now sits atop this famous place, but there's still enough history there that you can either make your own or find one to do.
That just sounds fun. Anyway, sorry, Greg.
So
it's named after Viking Earl the Orkney. That's where they're getting the Orkney ale.
A rich wine complexity. It's winey. Dried fruits. Yeah. Let me take another one of this. Okay. This drink's like a Baltic porter. It's not.
It's been a number of years since I've had it, so
this drink's like a Baltic porter. It drinks. I'm getting like figs. So I think when I do the dry fruit, I'm getting like figs and what are the other like dark fruit notes that you get from a Baltic porter, Rita?
Like raisin.
Yes.
Raisin, dates, lots of date note.
I think it's dates. I don't know.
Fairly similar in that sort of note, though, to me anyway.
Warm, exotic spice.
Ooh,
yeah.
La.
And this is boozy though. I don't know.
8.5.
Let's see. Let's see here. Bottled January 22nd. So I'm not sure. This is boozy. I'm not really sure what to think of this one, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what style it is, so I'm kind of miffed. Look how dark it is.
Yeah, where did they say that was brewed? Because it's the price is in like pounds.
Yeah, it's a UK one. It's
yeah.
I'm thinking it has to be Scottish because if that crystal malt is a big thing in Scotch ales. So I mean that'll give you that dried fruit kind of flavor as it ferments. Right. But that's just the description sounds like, oh, that's got to be like a Scotch ale.
I remember. Right. I think when I drank this, I want to say it was 9 or 10 years ago, maybe longer.
No, listen to the Cicerone. She's right. The more I think about it, it definitely drinks more like a Scottish ale. And then the ABV is up at 8.5%. So it's definitely going to be more alcoholic, if that makes sense, or has that alcohol end to it. It's warming at the end, actually. That's why I'm like, I don't really even know how to take this one. This one, it's winey too, though, because there's a wine-like consistency. So it's kind of thin, but it's boozy. This is one for the fall. This is one for the late fall. It's getting really, really chilly, but you're out by the fire. This is one for that. And you want a little bit more meat to the bones of the beer. You want a little bit more of a malt background. This will be it. Again, this will be, around the fire, Halloween. Yep. I wouldn't say it's my thing. I don't know, but I kind of enjoyed it more. I
was saying that when I had this, and I said 9-10 years ago, I remember having this before I met my wife, and we've been together for 10 years, so longer than that. I remember getting it, one, because it said Skull Splitter, and I was pretty new to really getting into craft. I was like, that's an awesome name, cool label, high ABV, I'm in. And I remember having a couple of them being like, all right, I'm really tipsy, so that's good. And that was my whole assessment of that beer. I just remember having it. So sorry, that wasn't a great review.
No, it's definitely not my thing. But I could see how people will like it, and I see its appeal. So,
well, my affinity for Scotch ales, so I might need to revisit that one.
It was either that or the pumpkin ale, and well,
pumpkin ales. We have time for a fourth.
We do have time for a fourth. I don't care.
Yeah.
I ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Are you going anywhere tonight?
I am not driving any place.
I got nothing.
Well, Rita's in a big city, so like,
Yeah.
I can understand if Rita would jump out on, you know what I mean? Like maybe jump in an Uber and go somewhere, or like, but we're kind of, me and you're kind of out there, man. So like, we would have to drive.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
So do we want to drive for number 4, folks? What do you think?
I'll open up my fourth now because I want to get rid of the last one. It wasn't that. Listen, it wasn't that bad. We've had worse on the show. One of the funniest things though is so when I do my Daddy Porter, here's a drop. Styling with Daddy Porter. The first one's out. The next one comes out on Tuesday. We did Oktoberfest and Fest beers, and I like those beers. But there is a show that I recorded, but I'm not going to tell anyone, that I absolutely hated the beer that I was drinking. But I wasn't going to like say it because it's not like a show like this where we're just having beers and we're just, driving about the beer. That was a show, like it's a show about a style. So I don't really want to bring my opinion on it, but I had to like take sips of it and be like, and it was horrible. It was funny. Maybe you'll be able to see it and you guys will be able to pick out which one, but I'm not going to say it though, because, but it was just funny when you have to be like, yeah, this is a good one. As opposed to on this show, we're like, no, this wasn't good. Like we've tasted at least 2 or 3 where at least I have where I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I think I've had a couple of those.
That's one of them?
Yeah, that's one of them. Well, you said that was because you had another one and it was fine, and you just think that one was old.
Yeah, I don't know. This is pretty. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's complicated with this guy, and this brewery's complicated with me too. So that's another story for another time.
So before we go to a next beer, Rita, what was your gateway? Did you have a gateway beer to craft? Because this was a conversation we were having in our group, where it was like, for me, Rogue Dead Guy was my gateway. Like that was the first craft beer I had. Did you have a beer that kind of drew you in, or is it just more like, oh, I like the idea of going into craft beer? How did that work for you?
Well, I was underage.
I
think we've all had beers underage.
Well,
I've had 1 or 2. I was a good kid, actually. I don't know about you bad kids.
Well, we can't all be perfect, Greg.
Yeah, that's true. You're the perfect one.
Right. I skipped that natty light phase. So I was kind of a nerd in college. So, and I started college early. I was at a Trader Joe's and there was a bottle with a glass or a gold foil on the top and had a cork in it. And it was Lindemans. And I'm like, I've never heard of this. I don't know if this is a wine or a beer. So I got the Lindemans Peach, opened it, and it was heaven. Like that was my gateway beer. I convinced one of my older friends to buy it for me, and they're like, "You want this? This sounds like it's."
Wow.
And that's.
You got lucky, girl.
I was like, "Oh, it's a Belgian type beer." So, and then early on, any type of like Belgian styles I could get my hands on. Being in Chicago, where we had a lot of breweries early on, turned 21 and went to my first brewery tour, and fell in love, and it's all been uphill since then.
So a lambic, damn.
Man,
I wasn't expecting that, Doug. Good question. Good question, Doug. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I think we've all had something that guided us down this path, much like life, if you want to get philosophical. But the idea of like, I've met more people who, for some reason, Dead Guy Ale was their gateway into craft than I thought. Like for me, it was just, that's a cool label. I like that. I'm 21. I can get that. And I did. But I think it's interesting that you went to Lindemans, like just the idea of like jumping into lambics.
She had no idea though.
I had no idea.
Right. She had no idea.
There. That was great.
Right. She had no idea though. So like that's the best part. That's part of the best part of it, is that it's just like, oh, let me just grab this. And little did you know you were grabbing Lindemans. I'm like, you said Lindemans. I'm like, whoa, that's the first thing you grab off the shelf. Good taste, lady.
And then my second beer was Half Acre Daisy Cutter, like my second beer to get me in a craft beer.
Lord.
Wow.
Because
you see the can, it's pretty. It's got it's silver. It's got these daisies on it. And you're like, oh, daisy cutter's a bomb, but the can's really pretty. I have no idea what to expect. You crack one of those open, and like, that was my first experience with hops. And at first I was kind of like, oh, this is funky. This is gross. This is bitter. This is, oh my God, this is amazing. How do I get more of this?
Right. That was the first time I had Daisy Cutter. I was like, this beer is amazing. Right.
And even somebody like me who is not a fan of those hoppy style beers very much, even I like that beer. So
that beer is amazing, man.
Yeah.
So what do you got, Doug? You got something else?
Yeah, I'm going to go. So this one I picked up today because brown water.
Brown water porter. Yes.
6.3 beans, bourbon barrel aged porter with cocoa husks, which I've never heard of, and coffee added. So 6 Point is a New York beer out of Brooklyn, but they also brew out of Memphis.
We're going to visit them.
They are kind of known for these really skinny, long cans. They're 11.2 ounces, which is not uncommon, but just their can style is different. So you get like a 4-pack and it looks like this. Like it's like a weird square. So
6 Point guys, those 6 Point guys are from 6 Point guys are from Wisconsin, by the way.
What's that?
Those 6 Point fellas there are from Wisconsin.
Oh, no kidding.
They moved to New York and they started a brewery there.
So
also, yep. Au Duval. Also, we're hitting that brewery next year in our New York invasion. Rita, I don't know if you're free. May 22nd next year, we're going to do New York with Daniel Fisher. Daniel, you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Daniel's in. I don't know if he's still in the group. Daniel, you still there? Say hi. But we did last year. I did Philly. This year I'm doing New York, and the next year it's either Boston or Chicago.
Maine. We need to do Maine.
Boston or Chicago.
Okay, but
big city.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Maine we can do on the side.
Yeah, that's a side one because it's so spread out. It's kind of hard, but yeah.
And we'll get our beer baby on that one too. But what do you got though?
So weird about this is I'm expecting it's got coffee and cocoa and just none of it is on the nose.
And it's black as hell.
It's black as can be. It's got a nice head on it, but the nose is not giving me any of those flavors they noted on the can at all.
So do you get the normal roasted love out of our normal brown water porters?
No in the nose, but holy shit on the palate. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really great.
Like,
I don't think I've had that one. I don't know. Have you ever heard of cocoa husks? What the hell are, like, not cocoa nibs or like I've heard that a million times, or chocolate, or it's that cocoa, whatever husk. I want to know what that is because that seems like to be contributing to that roasty flavor in some way.
Okay, well, I'm surfing over there. Let me see if I can get over here real fast.
So it's 6.3 beans, and the bourbon barrel aging is like very back noted. It is not, which is kind of unusual because usually every time I have a bourbon barrel aged beer, it is like, here's your bourbon and then here's your beer. No, this is like really kind of in the background a little bit. Barrel aged 4 beans. This is 3 beans. Excuse me. There it is.
You got to have the right amount of beans.
I guess. Cold brew coffee. Pardon me. Rich chocolate, notes of oak and bourbon. Lab notes. Can you click on that and let's see what the hell that is? Cocoa husks give a clean chocolate flavor and okay. So the chocolate is actually really lovely in how they do it because it's not overstated. It's not like super sweet, like, you know, where you get that sometimes they do like milk chocolate in it. Yeah, it's 10.1 ABV.
Right.
So when I bought that, the first thing I did was take one of the cans and slap a little piece of masking tape and today's date on it so that I threw that in my cellar to age. So we're gonna see how that is in a year. But
Does
this
it drink like a 10.1?
This is fucking superb.
Does it drink like a 10.1? I want this one
Does
right
not,
now.
because you're not getting, like I said, with the bourbon barrel age. I'm expecting that super boozy punch, and it's not that the boozy notes aren't there. It's just really kind of background style. I really, really dig this a lot.
This one we should.
It's not fucking brown water either.
I was gonna say this one we should send the Afro Beer check.
I will gladly send one to her because this is so many notes to it.
If she doesn't like that, she's bullshitting. In my opinion, I'm gonna call her out because I know she likes bourbon, and I think she likes coffee too. I forgot. I think she likes coffee.
I don't know, but you said about bringing to Fresh Fest having like the Edmund Fitzgerald porter. I'll bring one of these, and she can have this. And if she doesn't like it, then might be a lost cause.
Right. And that's fine. That's fine. Right.
This is really, really, really excellent.
So it's funny. We brought up Afro Beer Chick and we brought up Liz. I don't know if you saw Rita. I don't know if you saw the whole back and forth between me and Afro Beer Chick about the porters. I don't know. Did you see all that?
No, I didn't see that, but I'm interested because I know how you feel about porters. So
yeah. So obviously I love porters. That's my name. Blah blah blah. So then so Afro Beer Chick, I met her at Fresh Fest, and she's from your area. I met her at Fresh Fest.
I've interacted with her on Twitter, but I've never met her in person yet.
Oh man, we gotta make that happen.
We have to, because she's awesome.
She's fun as hell. And actually, if you want to go back and see our live show, it'll explain all this, and it's really hilarious. Long story short, she did an interview with another Fresh Fester, and he asked her, "What are your most underrated styles?" So she's like, "Porters." And this was the week before she came on our show. So I wrote, I'm like, "Oh, you're coming from my porter, so we got to deal with this on the show." So she comes on the show, and this woman starts talking about how porters are like brown water. And I just lost my mind. It was hilarious. So what happened was
there was a whole meme set for Greg where he was
so Liz Garrity went and took screenshots.
It was really
Liz Garrity went and took screenshots of the show of my reaction, and I'm like this, and like losing my mind. And so this whole thing is like spiraled out of control. And we're going to try to get, because she's like, I haven't tasted Edmund Fitzgerald. I haven't tasted all these good ones. She hasn't tasted Taddy Porter, which is the
classic.
Taddy Porter is a classic. In fact, Taddy Porter is part of Daddy Porter. That's part of why I did Daddy Porter. It was Taddy Porter, and I'm a dad, so it all worked out. So she hasn't had any like the big classics. So we're gonna send her a bunch of classics and then do the show again, and see if she likes, if she really likes the porters or not. She likes stouts, but she thinks porters are watery, and the ones she's had have just been pedestrian in her thing. So then it just started this whole thing. So then everybody on her page found out that she said about porters, and she had a thread. I remember this, Doug, about like 50 people saying, "Oh, you got to get this porter. You got to try this one. You got to go."
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like everybody just loading all these porters into her thing.
Right. So it was really funny. The whole thing was great, and people were just like, Liz was like, "I don't believe," because Liz jumped in on it, and she's like, "I just don't believe the Afro Beer Chick went on his show. He's a porter lover, and she's just tearing porters apart." And it was just a good back and forth.
It was definitely a good conversation point, that's for sure.
So we're going to do this again.
So now we have to ask, where do you stand on porters, Rita?
Absolutely. I love them, but I also don't think there are a lot of good ones. You have your main flagship porters. Like, I love the Edmund Fitzgerald one, but outside of that, it can be hard to find a good porter. And even trying to get the import ones, which that's a classic style from the UK. Import, they don't always hold up well in transit. So I can see why a lot of people have had bad experiences. You have a stale one, and of course it's going to taste like brown water.
Mm-hmm. Wow, look at that. So
if you have a porter to pick, what is your choice for the go-to porter?
That you would need, like you would try to get Afro Beer Chick to say, "Look, this is a good porter."
Or anybody really. But I'm curious what you would say is the quintessential porter.
The Great Lakes one is classic. Deschutes does a decent one if you get it fresh.
Black Boot.
Yeah. And then in Chicago, there's a brewery called Spiteful that it's like something pigeon, like Bad Pigeon Porter. It's Pigeon Porter, but that's one of their flagship beers, and you can get it year round, so you can get it fresh. And that's really good.
Mm.
So being in Chicago, it's like you have this fresh one available to you. Like the brewery is in the city, you can go there. It's great.
I almost want her to be on my show when she finds the porter, though. Like that's, you know what I mean, Doug?
Yeah.
I want her to be
love
here.
that would be just awesome. And you know what the problem is? I'm wondering if she would be like, I gotta stick to my guns.
Right. I don't think so, though. But I don't know, though. I don't know.
All right. Let me just postulate this before we go to the next beer. Rita, is it something where you go, all right, I like a classic porter? Or are you like you are with other beers where you're like, oh, well, I like all these variants because I want to try different stuff? How do you approach that with porters?
I tend to think that the classic ones are better because porter can be kind of like a stout where people mess it up and it doesn't really become a porter. And I think that's one of the hardest beer styles to find. And it's one of the biggest ones that people struggle with on the Cicerone test because on the Cicerone level, they don't necessarily straight up test, is this a stout or a porter? Because that can be really hard to tell for a lot of people that's more advanced and beyond. But there are a lot of people that when you're trying to explain what a porter is versus stout, it's very different. And especially when you talk like the UK version, which those are more classic, those are easier to understand. But in America, they just overhop everything and it can be kind of hard to tell the difference or really get an idea of what that is that you're drinking.
Yeah.
Preach, my friend, preached. So
while
my friend was preaching.
You go next.
I think Rita, you poured a big one the last time, so I'm gonna jump in here quickly. I have a brewery that I think Rita might be familiar with. I know, Doug, you don't know this one. Tyrannia.
Yeah. Oh, is that the pumpkin one?
Tyrannia, Pumpkin Ladies.
Yes, I love that label. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
They almost look like Wii people from Nintendo Wii.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is their pumpkin spiced ale. Here, let me pull it up so everybody can see what's going on with it. Painted Ladies. I poured it already. See right here. It looks the part. Pumpkin spice infused amber ale. I just did a Styling with Daddy Porter show, pumpkin beers, and what I learned, which should be coming out real soon because we're in that time, so you guys should see that in about a couple weeks. What I learned about pumpkin beers, and of course we're gonna have our Cicerone expand on this. What I learned about pumpkin beers is that they could be many different styles, but the point of it is that when you add the pumpkin, you're still supposed to taste the style. You're still supposed to, at least that's what the BJCP and the beer expert that I had on was talking about, which was you still should be able to feel what kind of style is. So if it's a big pumpkin, like they have pumpkin stouts, you're supposed to be able to at least know that there's a stout under it. So this here is a pumpkin, spice infused amber ale. And I'm not sure if I can taste, I'm gonna taste it again. I'm not sure if I can get the amber ale part of it. It clearly looks the part of an amber ale though. I just want to know if it even says in the description, the spices shouldn't overpower anything. And I think that's what people don't like when they say they don't like pumpkin beers, is the big spice bomb. Kind of like when people don't like the big hot bomb. And I like a spice bomb and a hot bomb. So I'm not that guy to be measuring on. But here, let me take another sip here. And okay. The pumpkin overtakes the amber, and I think we know why. I don't even know if you could even lower the pumpkin enough that it wouldn't overtake the amber, if that makes sense. But I can still tell it's an amber beer by the way it drinks and the mouthfeel. And the pumpkin is subtle, and the spices come out a little bit, but it's not a bomb. It's a nice drinker. We're talking 7.5%, so it ain't a session. It doesn't. I don't think this is trying to be a session. This is a one beer only. You know what I mean? Like get in a flight. You could probably only drink a pint of it. I wouldn't even call it pint. My favorite pumpkin beers are when I can say it's pumpkin pie in a glass.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say that this is pumpkin pie in a glass. But I will say though, look, I have this left over. I will say that this is pumpkin pie in a glass. So.
Yes. I love that one.
This one is awesome. This is a really, really good pumpkin beer. I had it when I was doing my show, the pumpkin beer show. This is fantastic. This is a little bit below. Again, the spices are a little bit more pronounced, if you like that, but not too much. This is well done, but this is better. I should have brought this to the show. So it's tis the season for pumpkin beers. As I talked to the beer expert that I was talking to about pumpkin beers, I'm not going to say his or her name because I want to save it. But they love the pumpkin beers. But we talked about how polarizing they are. Like people love it, people hate it. It's all over the place. You see Starbucks, what? Starbucks pays their bills all year round for this stupid pumpkin spice for like what?
Yeah.
A month? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'll let you guys jump in. Cicerone or Cicerone, you have anything to talk about pumpkin beers or the dog?
I think a good pumpkin beer should have you should be able to taste that vegetal pumpkin taste. It shouldn't just be, nutmeg and allspice, because those are so overpowering. And people think of pumpkin beers as being dark, sweet spice bombs. But there are a lot of breweries that are starting to deviate from that, like pumpkin sours, which really good because if you don't add all of the spice, if you're not going for a pumpkin spice beer, you're just going for a pumpkin beer, you should get that vegetal, like natural caramelized kind of taste. And those are really good. If you like that flavor to begin with. If you don't, there's nothing that's going to help you.
Doug, what you got for pumpkin beers?
I will say that somebody in the YouTube comments made something about Pumpkin, which is Southern tier.
Yes.
Pumpkin is really good for a pumpkin beer. And I will tell you, you say pumpkin pie in a glass. I've seen people take glass and wet the rim and put brown sugar on it. And that makes it taste exactly like pumpkin pie in a glass. That to me, but I have not had a whole ton of them, to be fair. That to me is probably the best pumpkin beer I can have. Now, they do also they make variants. If they make a cold pressed coffee pumpkin, they make a rum barrel aged pumpkin, which is a higher ABV. I think the regular pumpkin is better than both of those. But again, it's not something like I go out and I drink a lot of pumpkin beers. I think Mad Bishop from Dew Claw is pretty good. I can't remember if that's a pumpkin beer, if that is more of a Oktoberfest beer. I could be wrong. But again, I don't drink a lot of pumpkin beers. So that
one. Pumpkin Imperial 8.6. I thought it was bigger than that.
Yeah, they make it pretty heavy. And when you get like the rum barrel age one, it's up to like almost, I think it's like 11 and a half. So it's not something to drink like, hey, I'm going to have a bunch of pumpkins. No, you're not. You're going to have one.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Having personally tried that before, no, do not recommend.
Yeah, don't do that.
But
I will say, like, I'm also partial to Southern Tier because I'm partial to their dessert beers. Rita, do you guys get a lot of the Southern Tier stuff out there or no?
Yeah, actually, Tuesday night I had two of their new ones: the s'mores nitro and the chocolate milkshake.
Oh, that chocolate milkshake one I had on the show. What did you think of it?
It was so good. I didn't realize it was so strong. It's 10%, and I I really enjoyed it. It did not taste like 10%.
No, it doesn't. And
I fucking want this one right now.
It's so good. It's so good.
Right
I have
now.
the chocolate milkshake to send to you. I just have not gotten around to send it to you. I have it.
Oh, okay, well, when
That's the chocolate milkshake right there that Rita was talking about. That is like, it doesn't even taste like a beer.
Yeah.
The sea salt too. Oh, fucking.
Have you ever had the creme brulee one, Rita?
No. Oh, that sounds so good though.
Rita, you never
Okay,
had the
so
creme brulee?
I'm gonna find a way to send that to you because that is my favorite beer I've ever. The
This
creme
one.
brulee stout is like the Rolls Royce of dessert beers.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for vanilla. So like I'm that guy, like even if it's over vanilla-y, I'm probably gonna deal with it. Even though vanilla can be very, very sweet.
Oh, by the way, the Warlock one. Click on that if you could, Greg.
This bad boy?
Yeah, that is better than pumpkin.
Damn.
I've seen it. I've never tried it before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I was talking about, I went on a little tangent about pumpkin beers can be different styles, but the pumpkin can't take over. I started with the pumpkin. I didn't like the lower level pumpkins. I like the big ones. So I've had this one, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I had like a lower one, like kind of this O'Fallon one, a lower ABV one, and I just didn't like it. So it was just, for me, it was like IPAs. I started high. I didn't like regular IPAs. I liked doubles. And then when I liked doubles, I came back to IPAs. Same with the pumpkins. I like the big ones, and then I've come back to like the smaller ones. It's weird. I don't even know how to explain that. And no one has an
big, Greg. What can you say?
Oh, really?
Hey, that's not as bad. That's not nearly as risque as the golden shower comment. So.
I was gonna say that rules tonight. That's not gonna. We're not gonna be able to mic drop that one. That's just
whatever.
I don't even know how we went on after that. I don't even know.
that was a big mic drop right off the front, and I thought that was awesome.
So are we all done trying beers or opening them?
I got one more.
No, Rita has one more.
Okay, great. I'm not going anywhere.
I've got. This is from Hop Butcher, which is currently one of the hottest breweries in the country.
Hop Butcher.
Hop Butcher. Their technical name is Hop Butcher for the World.
Okay.
Yeah, they're known for ridiculously hoppy beers. Right now, they're brewing out of other brewery spaces. They don't have their own tap room, which is kind of weird to be one of like the most sought after breweries in the country and not have your own space. I have Bug House Square, so it's the orange one at the top there, with the Cicerone, Mosaic, Simcoe, and Nelson Sauvin hopped double India IPA.
I don't think I've ever heard of Nelson Sauvin hops. That's a new one for me.
It's a New Zealand breed of hops.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of melony flavored.
I like that they have. This is what I like the most. Last can. Look at that.
The day before my birthday.
Look at that. Right. Oh, you're a Virgo.
Yeah.
Oh, now I get it.
None of that shit matters. What are you getting at?
Oh, it doesn't. It's just it without a doubt all fun for sure.
That's okay. All right, so what are you getting out of that, Rita?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a big double.
A lot of melon. It's very cantaloupe-y. It almost has a little bit of like that funky smell from like the Simcoe.
And I was gonna say cantaloupe, isn't that from the Nelson probably?
Yeah. So Cicerone, Mosaic, you're gonna get a lot of those tropical fruit, like citrus, tropical, and then the Nelson's just gonna take you full tropical fruit. Maybe so like a little bit of papaya too, but it's very hoppy. You can even feel it on your tongue. It's not gritty, but and they're known for doing this. They're known for putting an insane amount of hops into almost everything that they brew, and you either love it or you hate it.
But you wouldn't call it a juice bomb, would you?
It's not. It's close. It's close to being juicy, but I mean, no light is going to get through that.
No, but it
looks
doesn't look
orange
like
juice glass.
it doesn't look like the super juicy. Like I don't. It's opaque, but it doesn't look like this. For me, like the super juicy ones always look almost light. Like that looks like a little darker than what I would expect from a juicy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks
Maybe
like
I'm wrong. Maybe it's the lighting, or maybe I'm just not seeing it.
That
well.
looks like a hazy.
Yeah.
It's very hazy, but they tend to not label their things as hazy. It's just one of their trademarks.
Okay.
So the hopheads in Chicago go nuts for their beer.
So Rita, what is your opinion? Oh, I got two questions. One, what is your opinion on a beer that says hazy, but it's not hazy at all?
Disappointing. It's disappointing.
Okay.
If you're gonna say it's one thing, it should be that thing.
Okay. Because I don't know if you guys have been there where give me the hazy, and then they give you because I'm the flight guy, and I get a flight, and I'm like, I should be able to pick out the hazy one. And I'm like, you guys got this wrong. Which one is the? No, you guys got this wrong. Seriously. They're like, no, that's the hazy. What? Okay, bye. Like, I'm not even trying to. Okay, you know what I mean? It's more like, all right. Like, because when it says hazy, whatever. Anyway, I think that's where we are in the world. You know what I mean? Like, you can say it's hazy, but it's absolutely not. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't understand why. I just don't get it. So anyway, I'll go to my next question because I don't even know if that was a question in there. Where are you at with the seltzers and the White Claw and breweries doing seltzers?
They're getting into that seltzer stuff.
Yeah, and White Claw selling out and people losing their minds, and you don't have any. What is it? You don't have any rules if you don't have any claws, or no, there's no
they
law.
don't want you drinking claws.
Drinking claws. Okay,
I hate that I even said that out loud right now. I'm personally not a fan, just because if I'm drinking, I want to have an experience. I want to have flavor from start to finish, and particularly with White Claw, like there's no flavor. It's all aroma. It smells good, but if you isolate those tastes, it doesn't taste good. It smells good, and that'll trick you. It's also fermented cane sugar, so as much as people are like, oh, it's healthier for you, it's purely fermented sugar, and for 100 calories you could have a well done lighter sessionable beer, or you could have a White Claw, and I don't know why anyone would pick that, but
well, apparently I guess everybody's saying that they're picking it for health purposes, and because it's light, they can catch a buzz and they don't have to worry about all that. I'm with you. I want to catch. Most of the time, I'm not looking to catch a buzz as a beer because I'm still aspiring to be where you are, which is Cicerone. So I'm still on a tasting binge. But when I do want to catch a buzz, it ain't with that.
And I've noticed the biggest thing I've noticed is people that used to show up at social gatherings with beer to share with the purpose of being like, oh, this is a beer that I brought back from here, or this is from my favorite brewery. They've abandoned that to show up with White Claw, which is so disappointing because you're missing out on some of that community. But there's also this culture of not only is it healthier, but you're just drinking to get drunk. And I would rather have 2 drinks, be okay, and really enjoy and experience those drinks than have 10 White Claws, be drunk out of my mind, and that's not any healthier. You can say that you're being healthy by having White Claw, but unless you stop within a reasonable limit, it's not really any healthier. You're still consuming alcohol and lots of calories.
It reminds me a lot of the Michelob Ultra thing.
Yeah.
Like, because Michelob Ultra does these ads where it's like all these people doing like super active things, and then
everybody's working out and then having a beer after.
And I'm like, yeah, but if you want something with some flavor, yeah, okay. So maybe you want now there are people that prefer light beers, that prefer Coors Light or whatever. That's your jam. Okay. But the White Claw just reminds me of that sort of, oh yeah, I still want to have drinks, but I also want to feel like I'm not drinking heavy stuff. Whereas like if you drink like a porter or a stout, you feel like you're drinking a shit ton of calories when you're not you're drinking a little more calories in the White Claws. But I don't think there's, I don't know. I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of the White Claw stuff. I'm not a fan of seltzer in general, so it's more of that sort of flavor for me. But
I'm conflicted because I like seltzers, and I like seeing breweries offering not hard seltzers but regular seltzers, whether it's the hop flavored ones. Like Lagunitas had hop flavored seltzer water, which I think is brilliant. There's a company out of California called H2, like hops, but like H2OPS, that does hop flavored seltzer water, which is a great alternative if you want to be in the conversation of, like the hops, the piney notes, that kind of a thing, but you can't consume alcohol. And kind of going back to that like inclusivity conversation, I'm all for breweries having seltzers, kombucha, that kind of a thing, for the people that might not be able to drink alcohol or want something in between their beers. But going full on seltzer route, I know you got to make money and you want to chase that trend, but I don't necessarily think that that's always a trend worth supporting, because it's not what it claims to be. It's not healthier than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people believe that house shit. Mm-hmm. That's what I hear. That's what I house shit. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
But like people believe that's a real strain on this, and that's what people are saying. That's the first thing that they say, because they're definitely not saying flavor. So anyway, they're definitely not. I don't think anybody's saying I'm drinking this because I like the taste. Yeah. I've never heard anybody say that.
Neither have I.
Right. Like it seems like I'm sacrificing taste so that I can get drunk or catch a buzz, and still be out.
But even with that whole line of health stuff, Boston Brewing Company had that 26.2 beer, that like marathon beer that's lighter in ABV. It's supposed to have electrolytes, which just means they put salt into it, with the idea that it's supposed to be healthier or help rehydrate you after working out, which isn't completely false. There's some substantial evidence that hops and some of the principles in hops are very good for muscle relaxant. And there's I want to say he started in Wisconsin, but there's a guy, the Beer Runner, who is an avid runner, writes for a lot of running magazines, and created a program where, based on the running workouts that you do, at the end of the day, you're rewarded with a different beer. And whether it's a stout for replenishing some of the carbohydrates, or a really hoppy but low ABV, like a session IPA for the muscle relaxing properties. He has a whole workout for a week designed around a 6-pack of, you do this exercise, you get this beer at night. So it's not completely false that you could have healthy beer, have a healthy drinking experience, but it's not some magical elixir of life.
Right. So one thing before we wrap up here, Ichabod was mentioned as a pumpkin ale. Have you ever had this one, Rita?
Yes, I like that one.
Me too.
Look at this ABV though. This is intriguing.
That's what the thing. It's not like it's not a pound you in the face thing. It's really good. It's really smooth.
It's a sessionable one.
Yeah.
So I'm dropping a whole bunch of things here, but in that pumpkin beer Styling with Daddy Porter show, I talked about how I'm cool with a pumpkin beer creeping into August if it's going to be sessionable. Like if you're a pumpkin person and you're down with that, I'm down with a pumpkin beer that could be enjoyed in the summer. I understand people get creepy with the, the Oktoberfest creep when you see an Oktoberfest and late August, like what the hell's going on here? And I understand that because Oktoberfest has a little bit more meat. But if you get a pumpkin beer that has 4.5%, man, why is this not a summer beer?
You could drink it while you're raking leaves.
Right. No, I haven't had Ichabod, and when everybody said it, and then they said New Holland, I was like, well, that's a brewery that I get around here a lot, and I see a lot of. So that's why I'm like, I need to look for this one. If everybody's saying, people were saying in the chat there. So
it's pretty good. I like it.
I like that it's low ABV. When I saw that, it really popped at me, and I wanted to make sure that I said something before the show ended. It looks like I lost my co-host, but that's fine. So this is the time. This is the time where we wrap up, Rita, and we talk about the beers that we had, and we kind of put them in order. We put them in order from best to worst or worst to first. So I don't know if you want to start. We didn't give you the ladies first from the jump, so we'll give you ladies first now in the review. Right. So I don't know if you want to talk. It's just you go back and show us what you liked, what you didn't like, and just to accent the beers again.
All right. So I'm gonna confess, I did not like this one, the Hop Butcher. I don't like the mouthfeel on it. It's like so much hops that it's astringent. I don't like that kind of like piney mixed with cantaloupe flavor. Yep. Like, I'm trying to read on the can. Yeah, intense tropical. I'm like, intense is a word for it. That's gonna be my worst one for tonight.
Okay. So that's a big one. That's a big, hoppy, fruity one, right? For people who are looking, because some people like that.
If you like hops, like the name Hop Butcher is not false. They're known for going through a ton of hops in any of their beers. Whatever they do, they go balls to the wall, put it all in. And if you're a hop head, you will love this beer. If you're looking for bitter hops and that like back of the tongue, like punch in the face hops, you're not going to get that. This is more aroma and more that fruity type hop, and you're going to feel it. Like you can feel that there's an excessive amount of hops in that beer.
So I love that. So let me ask you a follow-up question before you get your next one. So while you were drinking this before, we're going back and forth. Can you talk to a little bit about their situation? So they brew in different places, but are they getting their own spot, or what's going on with them? Or what do you know?
They've been around for a couple years at this point.
Oh, okay.
And so I want to say about maybe two years, maybe a little bit more. They're brewing out of at least one of the suburban breweries. They are always talking to other breweries and trying to get more brewing space, more canning space, that kind of a thing. But as of now, there's only cans and occasionally in tap on other places. They don't have their own space.
Gotcha. This one here really jumps off at me real quick. Is I don't know. Are you familiar with the hop Sabro?
Yeah.
I love it. Working Draft Brewing Company here in Madison. I had to shout them out. And actually, when you come up here, we're going to go there. They have a single hop Sabro IPA. It's one of the best IPAs I've ever had in my life. Sabro is an amazing, amazing hop. I absolutely love it.
I love single hop IPAs or single hop pale ales or anything that can help you isolate what that flavor is and what that hop means. So then when you see it on menus and on descriptions for other beers, you're like, oh, okay, like I know I'm not a huge Simcoe fan. Like Equinox or Equinaut or Euconaut, I guess they've changed their name so many times. I hate that hop. So if I see that in a beer, I know I'm automatically not going to be a huge fan of it.
Yep. I used to call that hop DNA. I need to bring that back. Meaning everybody has a hop DNA, I believe. Meaning you have a set of hops that you like, you have a set of hops that you don't like. And you just got to figure out which ones those are. And me and Doug have had this conversation a few times, not enough, because Doug came into all of this, especially with Brothers in Brew Live. Doug came into thinking that he didn't like IPAs, or he didn't like the majority of them. And Doug likes IPAs. It's just a specific, he has to stay in his lane.
Yeah, that's a very true statement. I found something I really like and something I'm just like, nope, that just, it tends to be the bitter hops that really get me.
We're still working on Doug figuring out, and I'm still working on it too, figuring out which exactly hops that I really like. But I know I love Sabro, and the reason is because I had it in a single hop IPA. And when you had it and you're like, this is the only hop in there, This is amazing. Or if you
Yeah.
have like this, just a mosaic pale, and you love that, then you love mosaic. So I interrupted the lady. She was Doug, while you jumped out, the lady was she was going through her
And I
through her
saw
beers.
which one that you thought was the least of your favorites out of the group. So let's continue.
It was right. It was probably the one that I would like the most out of that, actually, because I want to be thrown back by your IPAs. Some IPAs I just want to be. I want put in my mouth. I want to be rocket ship back. So that's what it sounded like that was. So go on.
Yeah. I'm doing the last three. I love all of these beers, so it's kind of hard to pick a favorite. So I'll just go from like least memorable to most memorable.
Oh, there we go.
I'll put the center line from Alter next in line. Yeah, blonde ales, you can kind of get them in a lot of places, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like a good, blonde or golden ale shouldn't have a whole lot that stands out. It should just be easy drinking. So if you remember it and it's bad, like it's probably bad, but if you remember it and you don't have oh, this is really good, or I don't really remember much about it, it was probably really good. It's just a very neutral style. I'm picking Blue Tub, the blueberry sour saison next.
That's one I really wanted to try. Yeah.
I will make sure that you get some because
Cool.
it's a little funky because the saison part of it, and I like it. I think there's enough sweet flavor, but not too sweet, and enough fruity, but not too fruity, and funky, but not too funky. It's pretty well rounded. Unfortunately, as we're coming to the end of summer, I don't know how much I'm going to be reaching for blueberry. But I do know I will be drinking a ton of Pollyanna Fun Size in all of its varieties. Toasted marshmallow is my favorite, but the original is great. Tastes just like a Snickers. They've got sugar cookie, coffee, a barrel-aged variety, raspberry, coconut. They do a ton of different types of fun size, and once it becomes fun size season in Chicago, Pollyanna's the brewery. They're in a western suburb and a northwestern suburb now, but I love this beer. It just smells so good. Like if I could have a candle that smelled like this,
that's a great way to look at a beer. Can I get that in a candle? Like there's certain beers that you can smell and you just go, that's something I would like to smell a lot of.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it in that context, and that's a freaking super smart way to look at it.
If it has a good aroma, you're going to want to smell it, not just drink it. And that's important.
And I think you've heard me say, Doug, I like smelling beer more than I like drinking it sometimes.
Yeah, I like drinking more, so sorry.
But smelling it can be, but smelling it, you can get all the, everything Rita says, right. We already know. So, Doug, you want to go next?
Sure. So, all right. So I'm going to say every beer I had tonight, I liked. There was not one that I was like, this sucked or whatever. So I think in the spirit of what Rita said about making it memorable versus what wasn't memorable,
I like it. Yep.
So the very first one I had was the Horse Oktoberfest. It wasn't memorable because it's an Oktoberfest. It's supposed to be one lane. It stays in that lane, and it's really good at being in that lane. But, yeah, it's what it is. So, I can drink a lot of that, but it's not something I'm going to remember or talk to anybody about just simply because it's an Oktoberfest. The second one I'm going to say is the Patriarchy. This was excellent aged. It was not. It just the other two were so much just mind-blowingly good that this was third out of the four. I would highly recommend aging this. I liked it fresh. I liked it way more aged, and this was aged 1 year and 4 months. I probably would have went another couple months. But I was worried because it was a pastry stout. So I'd never aged one. So it was like, okay, Greg.
I gotta raise my hand. I interrupted.
Yeah, yes,
I gotta learn how to do this. Actually,
yes, Mr. Washington, what would you like to say?
Yes. No, so okay, just real quick, because obviously, damn, we're going late. When you age, what do? You put like a little bit of, you put a label on it, and you put the day that you bought it.
I just take some masking tape and I put the month and the year on it.
Okay, and what do you do, Rita, when you age? Do you age? What do you do?
I try to have a system, but it always ends up falling apart. In my house in the basement, there's a closet that was turned into a wine cellar. I don't drink wine, so I put all my beers in there, and I try and keep like, the newer ones. Okay, those are the fresh in, and then take from the bottom. And sometimes I just end up throwing stuff in there and pulling it out months later. I'm like, oh, I don't remember when I put this in. Other times I have a note on my phone that has either the date that I bought it or the date that I decided, okay, this is going into the basement.
Gotcha. Okay, I see that, Doug. Okay,
This is what I do.
all right.
Because otherwise, I'd not know what the fuck I threw down there and when I'd put it down there. I would not know.
And that's KISS, man. That's keep it simple, stupid. Like,
Yeah.
It really is. It's like a tape, masking tape, done. Like, you don't even have to think.
No, I just go, oh, okay, I have that there. Like I have coming up, we're gonna have Chocovesa season, and I have
I love that one.
So I have one from 2017. I have one from 2018, and I'm gonna do a ladder one show when we have it that way. So I'm super looking forward to that. So I am not gonna call a winner tonight because both of these were fucking awesome. And I can't tell you how much I enjoyed both these.
I want that 6 point. Man, I want that
The 6 point I have, I can get it. This I'm gonna get another bottle of this, Greg, even though it's $11, because I want you to have this because this is freaking ridiculously good. So this had like weird coconut chocolate flavors that were perfectly melded. It was an Imperial Stout. It did not drink at all like an Imperial Stout. It was so smooth. So like I could have had two more of these, not from the perspective of being sober, just from the smoothness of it, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I know I would have been hammered, but it would have been really smooth hammered. So, the 3 being bourbon barrel aged, this was, I don't know, it's a perfect balance. I don't know how else to explain it. It's something that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. And Rita, I will see if I know I can get more of this. If you're interested in this, I can probably get some to you.
I'd love to try it. It sounds awesome. And cocoa husk, that was the weird thing that we learned.
Yeah.
So I will figure out a way to make that happen. But these two were just superb. Yeah.
So you guys outdid me today because mine weren't really that memorable, to be honest with you. We'll start with the Skull Splitter. This is an interesting one, and I will go back. I wouldn't say I didn't like it. I was just kind of off put by it. I don't know. This said January 22nd too. I'm not sure how these Scotch ales things age, but I definitely prefer to have it fresher. How about that? The next one was the pumpkin beer. Pretty good, but it wasn't memorable. It wasn't bad. I finished it. So that says something. I'm starting to prefer my pumpkin beers lighter, more sessionable, really more summery, if that makes any sense. This is kind of in between. A good one though, and if you're in Wisconsin, try it out if you like pumpkin beers. I did like this Praga. It didn't really stand out to me as far as like I've had better pills in America, respectfully. But likely like Rita said, at some point during this whole jam, sometimes with the imports, they're not as fresh as they're ever going to be, as we're ever going to get it. So for me, pills, it's about the freshness for me. It's about the crispness, and it's about that hoppy grab. That it's not a big hoppy grab like an IPA, like Rita just went through with that double IPA. But right, it's such a subtle hop that even if that hop drops off a little bit, in my opinion, you taste it in the pills. Because again, I want my pills snappy. Is the word I'm looking for. So my winner tonight, and the most memorable beer I had was easily this XPA from Flying Fish. This is fantastic. It was light, it was sessionable, it was fruity, it was tasty. But it was, I don't know, 5.2, so we could have a few. I said this would be, again, I'm not a shower beer guy, but I think it might fit there. It definitely fits in the lawnmower section. It definitely fits in the sitting out. I don't know about you guys, but when I do go to baseball games, it's not to watch baseball. It's to drink the beer and eat the food and to walk around and to have that atmosphere. This is a baseball beer. You know what I mean? You walk around with the cups.
Yeah.
Perfect. The plastic cups and this, fantastic. Actually, again, this is pretty memorable. And this is what, upstate New York?
Upstate's by Watkins Glen, which is up in the Finger Lakes area.
Watkins Glen, they race there once a year, right?
Yeah, there's a giant race.
What, twice a year?
Once.
Twice? Oh, only once there? Okay, yep. So, those are mine. You guys absolutely had better selections this week. I will give you that. You won the selection thing. But Rita, it was amazing having you on. We love to have you back because you have more knowledge than both me and Doug combined in this area, probably. So we love having the knowledge around. And so thank you. Anything else to say before we pipe off here on YouTube?
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. I've got some beers to add to my wish list of things I want to try. So that's always exciting. It's always a good way to spend a Friday night drinking with friends and catching up.
Yes.
And
all right. Well,
questions or anything, just email me, find me on Instagram, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to run over your social media before we leave, or you got it, or because
sure.
run over your social media because it's hard to find you on Twitter. You're not Rita Treonis there.
No, I don't use my last name on a lot of stuff. I just use my weird old username, Earmoth, EARMOTH. But yeah, that's just look that up. There's only one of me, so if you see
your Earmoth everywhere, your Earmoth on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So that's cool. All right. So thanks for joining us on another. Wow, this is the longest show ever, Doug.
I think so. I know so.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's
true.
We
will see you guys next week. I'm on the road, and Doug has a special guest.
Yes, I do. A West Coast guest, which is not something we've had. So this is going to be great.
Yes, and it's going to be a good time. And we'll see you guys soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.